Good morning, YouTube. Once again, don't mind the chickens. This morning we are going to do a little unexpected automotive repair.
Hello, and welcome to our channel. We're glad you're here.
Okay, about a year ago, maybe a little over a year ago, I ordered new springs for this truck. It's a 99 F250 Super Duty. It's got well over 300,000 miles on it. I think it's pushing 318 right now. And about a month after I put the new springs on, the driver's side front spring, the center leaf broke. I hope you can see that. If the light will help. Nope, not at all. But center spring broke right here, and I contacted the company. He said, send me a picture. Said, yeah, that's a bad spring. That's not stress or anything. So they sent me a new spring right away. So I'm not going to mention the name of the company because I don't want to badmouth them at all, because they did deal well with me. Sent me a new spring immediately and new U-bolts. But the difficulty of changing the spring on this truck, I never got around to changing it. Well, the last month or so, I've been noticing an issue with the front end. The wheel's a little bit turned to the right, and it just kind of feels loose in the front end. Well, I was getting a noise yesterday going to work, and when I got to work I took a little look at it, and that's what I found. The main leaf has broken, and from the looks of the brake, as rusty as it is, it's probably been broken for this month and a half or so that I've been noticing an issue while driving. So I quickly fabricated this thing up and put that over top of the brake and clamped it down to make it a little safer to drive. So today we are going to change this spring. Now, the biggest problem with changing the spring is the fact this truck has a plow on it. And in order to get this front bolt out of the front of the spring, all of this plow bracketry has to come off because the bolt goes out that direction and all that plow bracket's in the way. So I will film this kind of step by step as I go so I don't make this video too long. But the first step is to remove the bumper. To get the bumper off of this is pretty simple. Got 2 bolts here and 2 bolts over here. So I'll take the bumper off and then we'll take a look at it. I've already pulled the plow section off because that would obviously be step 1. But we'll get this bumper off and we'll be right back. Okay, bumper comes off pretty easy. I did forget there's a rubber flap that's got 3 plastic push pins in it on the back side of the bumper. It has to be popped loose, and it's kind of convenient. They give you this plate to hold the nuts on the back. So you take these 4 bolts out, that plate falls out of the back of the frame, and you're good to go. So next step will be to start removing this plow bracket. Will be this nut here, 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 these 2 bolts up here, 2 bolts in the frame, and the 4 bolts down here that hold the cross beam on. I don't think I have to take this off. It'll be hanging from the other side and it won't be in the way. But that's the next step. These 2 bolts that are nuts that are all the way back here, the bolts actually have like long rods on them so that you can hold the bolt from inside the frame, stick it through the hole and tighten it up. So I'll get these unbolted and get that frame for the plow down, and we can start working on taking the U-bolts off and getting this spring off of here. Okay, brackets are all off. I did forget about 2 bolts underneath this bracket that bolts these 2 together, but they're all off. I'm just going to leave the 2 long bolts or the ones that have the long rods on to hold them in place. No need to take those off. So the next step will be to loosen up the U-bolts, lower the axle down, remove the front bolt from the spring, the rear bolt from the spring, and try and get this broken one out and the new one in. So we'll get this thing out of there and show you where we're at. Okay, got the old spring out. There's a new spring laying there to go in. Apparently the design on these with this coil around the front, the main leaf goes inside that pocket. If it wouldn't have been for that wrapped around there, I don't know what would happen when this broke, because it let the spring, I mean right there is the natural position, and it was pushed forward like this because there was a gap in that brake when I got it clamped down. So the only thing holding that spring on was this loop that goes around the main coil. Now, I don't know if that's a design Ford put in there from the factory just in case that main leaf breaks as a safety feature or not, because it doesn't have it in the back. But in the back it's not going to be quite as critical. So we're ready to put it back in. I'll lift this spring in there, put the bolts in the front and the back. I did fight getting the U-bolts off because they're so long that they're kind of springy. So when you're hit with the impact, it just wants to kind of twist the length of that bolt. So I had to crank those off by hand. But there's what it looks like without the spring in. The one with the wraparound piece goes on this hole, and I don't know if you get to see it in the dark here or not. There's the back hanger right there. That's where the back of the spring goes. So we'll put the spring in. There's a little bolt in the center of the spring that goes inside of this hole in the axle, and then this plate that the shock is on will swing around and sit on top, and the U-bolts go over this bracket to hold the shock on. These shocks are probably 4 years old, and they still have a gas charge to them because it's pushing down on that pretty hard. So there's a good advertisement for Monroe shocks. Those are the gas magnums, I think, for trucks, and I know those are. I've had this truck for 4 or 5 years at least, and I put those on right when I got it, and they're still holding up good. So there's where we're at on the spring. We'll get it in there, get it bolted back in, and try and film a little bit of that as we go. Yeah, I remember last time I did this spring, I put the rear bolt in first and then fought getting this front one in. I think I had to get a bottle jack and put a bottle jack in here to pry this down. And I may even had to put like a chain fall or something on it to pull the spring forward to get this bolt to line up. So this time I put the front bolt in first, and then the rear hanger, I should just be able to pry this forward and get that bolt in, because this hanger does swing on the frame. So hopefully that'll make this easier. And then the axle, as you can see, this is the bolt that goes through the center of the spring. It's right here, and the axle's back probably 3 inches maybe. So I am going to have to somehow pry this axle forward, probably put a ratchet strap on it and drag it, but I'll need to pry the axle forward to get that pin to line up, and then I can put the U-bolts on. So there's where we're at. Great, now the inspector's here checking it out. Okay, I did have to put this red strap from the front of the truck back to that rear bracket and pull the rear bracket a little bit. Then I was able to get a C-clamp between over the bracket and the spring, and was able to just pull it right in there and pop the bolt in. So doing the front bolt first was way easier. And then to get the axle in position, I tried the red strap, but it wasn't strong enough. So I grabbed this heavier strap and was able to pull the axle forward enough to get it lined up with the pin, and then stuck a pry bar between the axle and the pin, or the axle and the spring, and pried the axle out, and the little pin dropped in the hole. Swung the shock around and have dropped the U-bolts on. Now if you have, if you're looking and watching this to know how to do these springs, if you have a later 99, 2000, 2001, whatever, this U-bolt is going to be round on the top, and this bracket is going to be mounted. The very early 99s had this square top spring and these flatter brackets. So that might look a little different on your truck. This is an early 99, so it has different drive shafts, different springs, different brakes. It's almost like the engineers threw this truck together and then like, whoa, that's a bad idea, let's try something else. So there's a lot of prototyping type stuff on this truck that is not the same as the older 99s and beyond. But it works. So we'll get this bracket here that the sway bar goes on. It has 4 holes in it that the spring U-bolts go through. So we'll get that up in position, get the nuts on, get this tightened up, and we'll be ready to put the plow brackets back on. Oh no. Now the whole management team's here to check it out. I better be doing this job right. And there's the completed product. Not sure how well that's coming out. The sun's at a weird angle. But everything's all tightened up. The plow bracket's back on. The only thing left to go back on is the bumper. But I am leaving the bumper off for right now because the front receiver for the winch we just bought is coming in tomorrow, and the bumper has to come off, and the tow hooks have to come off. So I figured I might as well just leave those off for the night, and we'll put the receiver on tomorrow when it comes in. We'll do a separate video on that, but that's changing the broken spring on the truck. If you have any questions or comments, please put them down below. Appreciate a thumbs up and a subscription. So please subscribe. It's more important than ever now. Thanks for watching.